What's up, everybody? After 9 seasons, How I Met Your Mother is done, in the books, and now it's time to discuss how it all netted out. Joining me are Eric and Max from IGN TV. Boys, hello!
Hey there, Greg.
Hey, Greg.
All right, so Eric, big question for you. The finale for How I Met Your Mother, series finale, was it good or was it a betrayal of the fans and everything they had built for the past 9 years?
I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. I should say spoiler territory is going to get pretty quick on this.
If you're
one.
watching this and you didn't think there'd be spoilers,
You'd think,
you got a problem,
but
man.
No, I don't quite understand the people that are so furious, so angry, think it was betrayal. A lot of the things that happened, we did predict for a while, and I always thought made sense. I did have an issue with the execution of some of it, but I thought it was a good finale that could have been great if they'd just tweaked a few things, and if the final season had actually changed structurally. But that's we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, we're going to get into all that. Now, Max, you reviewed this for IGN. You gave it a 9.7, so you clearly hated it.
Yes, I hated the finale. No. I gave the finale a glowing review. I loved it. It did everything that I wanted the series to do, and it's one of those things too where it's like the season as a whole. And again, we'll probably get into this more, but I was a little lukewarm on the whole season. But for this finale, I think it did everything that I could have hoped for, honestly.
All right, well, let's start getting into it. Eric, you talked about, you guys had predicted some of this, and then you weren't happy with the execution. What's the big red flag for you that stands out as like, that's the thing they didn't get right?
I guess the biggest problem to me in the actual finale was I wish they'd spent more time, and we were talking just before about whether they should have had I don't think they needed a death scene for the mother, but I felt like the mother herself needed a little more significance. She died, okay? That was the big deal. And it was glossed over, I thought, in the finale. The fact is, like, we're kind of told quickly that she died, and then on screen, it's so quick for him to decide that he's going to go after Robin. We know factually it's 6 years, so he did not, she didn't die and he go, okay, on to Robin. But we didn't feel that passage of time. So I think that's one thing that leaves people feeling uneasy just as a TV viewer, is It felt like the mother we've been told was so important, but then at the end she didn't really get her due, even though I think it makes sense the way the story ended.
Right.
Max, is it the same thing for you?
Yeah. It's like I kind of think the whole mother execution, I think, was done a little weirdly, because initially the series was going to end at season 8. And presumably it was going to be a thing where we met the mother probably in the final episode. You kind of get a glimpse of her, and that was going to be the end. But instead, the creators decided to incorporate her into the actual season 9, like pretty much all of it. And so she was actually a main character on the show. She was like billed as a series regular.
Right.
So I think that might have been the problem, to where I think they either introduced her too late or they introduced her too soon. I think if she had been integrated into the series much earlier, I think fans might have cared a little bit more. Whereas if you introduce her for just one season, I think you kind of risk maybe not caring about that character at all.
When you look at the fan outrage on the internet, does it all come back to that this season kind of felt, based on how it all ends, that it was a bit of a throwaway, right? We're introduced to this mom who dies in the same episode, then it's all around this whole season's been around this wedding that doesn't last. Is that where people are really getting mad, Eric?
I think that's the other big problem with the final season. Max is absolutely right about I think the show went on probably about 3 or 4 years too long. But if they at least stuck to the 8-season thing and ended it the way they were originally going to, it would have been very different, because by having that entire final season be about a wedding that is invalidated 15 minutes into the finale, that was really odd. It's like I think it made a lot of sense that Robin and Ted would end up together at the end. I think that the series earned that, except that then they had so much of Barney and Robin together, which I didn't really like, and I don't think Max did either. But then why did you spend that much time on it? Why did you have an episode that was a really low point for the show, I thought, where Robin floated away as a metaphor for Ted letting her go, showing that Robin and Barney are going to make it, and then just go, they're not going to make it. So that made season 9 I thought I had a big misfire in that respect.
Max, how do you feel then about how everything goes for Barney, right? We knew him for years as this womanizer, great suit-wearing dude. Then he falls in love. It seems like everything's going to be happy. And then he regresses back to being this womanizer in his later years, right before the retirement home.
Right. And I think one of those things is like, we spent a lot of this time on this wedding weekend, right? We put a lot of focus into Barney and Robin, and that was kind of that was like pretty much all of season 9. But what's so weird to me, what confuses me, is how it's widely regarded that these later few seasons, I feel, are like not the best How I Met Your Mother. In fact, they might be like the worst part of the show. So it seems weird to me that that people get so upset about a finale that is clearly servicing those earlier seasons. And I don't know, it just seems like why would you get upset about something that's servicing the better part of the show?
Sure. Well then, I mean, talking about bridging the gaps, right, between seasons, how did you guys feel about the whole Ted footage from season 2 being integrated into what's happening now? Did that work for you?
Oh, yeah, with the kids, you mean, from season 2.
Right.
It's funny, I do disagree with you, Max, on that one, and that I know in your review you said you thought it worked well. It was a little awkward to me. They had this footage they shot of those two actors in, when they were teenagers, and they had to do that because obviously you couldn't bring them back now, mid-20s, and be like, hey, we're just sitting here.
A lot of time's passed during this story.
A lot of time has passed, although they made that joke. But it was a little awkward to me. I thought you couldn't get around the fact that, Josh Radnor's sitting in a room talking to nothing because they're intercutting with footage and they could never show them in a shot together.
Right.
So a little awkward to me on the actual, doing that. Again, audacious, though. I have to give them credit for even trying this.
Right.
The fact that they 8 years ago shot that footage and held on to it this long is something that no show has ever done, much less a sitcom.
And I think that's what kind of impressed me the most about it, right? Like the fact that they actually did hold on to this footage for so long, and they had this planned out seemingly so far in advance that they could like craft this final scene that was put together in the finale. And I think, and I've said this before, but I think that actually held together really nicely in the finale. But yeah, it's one of those things where you can't have them in the same shot because that just doesn't work, right? Like even technically. So I thought the way they did it was really, at least for me, it was gratifying just because it was good to know that they at least had that whole ending in mind from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. I think it goes back to, every time there's a big finale, it always causes debate. And also there's always going to be people saying like, how could they not have planned it from the start? Those writers are so stupid. They should have had a plan from the start. But then now you have the flip side. Some people are getting mad at How I Met Your Mother for sticking to a plan. They're like, well, they should have changed it. So there's no perfect answer. And again, I do think that there's ways they could have made this ending work better. But I do give them credit for like, hey, this is what we're going to do. And we knew this since, 2006, since season 2. And now we get it, finally in 2014.
Right.
So you both liked it, but right now we're doing the normal fan thing, right? The Monday morning quarterback where we sit here and nitpick it. What's the big thing for each of you that you really, really dug about this finale?
The thing I dug, the thing that leaps out to me, besides the final moment, which I did like, even though I still was bothered by the lead up to it being so rushed, was the Barney holding his baby, I'd say. Nice. That was, because we had that regression of the character, and it felt really, again, it's like, man, the last 3 years of the show were all him changing and getting better. He's really going to be this, but they called him out for that. They said, you're a guy in your 40s still doing this womanizer thing. But the scene with the baby, Neil Patrick Harris, I thought nailed it acting-wise. It was actually a very good acting moment. So I think that really stood out for me.
I agree. The Barney arc for me was in that finale, I think was one of the stronger aspects of the finale, because I was actually kind of expecting, if they were going to go with the whole Ted and Robin thing, I would think that they would maybe just totally cast aside Barney in the last few moments, maybe not even give him a follow-up like that. So I was actually really surprised and kind of delighted that they went in and took the time to make sure that you understood that if, in that finale, I think Barney says something to the effect of like, if Robin couldn't turn me around, who could? And I think we got that answer in those final few moments when he held his baby for the first time. I thought that was a really nice, kind of sweet moment. Good way to end his character.
Yeah.
So then,
I also want to, by the way, I want to mention that I do want to award the show. I have an award. No.
The first annual Eric Goldman How I Met Your Mother Awards. I didn't know we were at it. All right, great.
I applaud the show for, in the finale, daring, again, was it 086? I don't know, but daring to be, pretty melancholy as far as like the idea that this group of buddies wasn't going to remain. They're still friends, but the fact that they're not, those flash forward showing the fact that we don't hang out all the time anymore. We lose track of each other. You guys have babies. And it was very realistic, more real than a lot of sitcoms get with this kind of stuff. And I know it was a sort of strange, element maybe, but I think this show has shown before it was willing to kind of go to that more dramatic place. So I thought that was impressive.
So then, Max, when people look back at the wealth of 9 seasons of How I Met Your Mother, what are they going to take away? What's this show's legacy, you think? And did this finale tarnish it at all?
I don't think it tarnished it. I think if anything, it made the final or the first like 4 or 5 seasons like watchable again, like much more so than I was expecting. Because I think for me, my favorite part of How I Met Your Mother were those first 5, 6 seasons, and so I think the legacy of that show will always be in those classic episodes that people remember, all the hijinks and the shenanigans, but also those heartwarming moments. But I think the finale really solidified those earlier seasons, and I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier, to where I think those later seasons, while they definitely had their positives and their good episodes and things, I think the legacy of the show will always be in that first half, and then I think the finale really serviced that.
Eric, you agree?
Yeah, I think that one thing I think the show will still stand up is like especially those first seasons is like some really great comedy and a show that was trying to really think outside the box as far as a sitcom, and the fact that people are bringing up this show compared to Lost as far as like the fact that it aimed towards this big reveal finale, which you just don't see on a sitcom. It's like Friends and Cheers, great shows. They didn't aim towards like some payoff except on a relationship level, and I know this was still relationship based, but it still had a little more to it than that. I do think it will also though be a bit of a cautionary tale about the fact that shows like this, heavily serialized shows, need to have a certain set amount of seasons. And again, it's like, because I think if How I Met Your Mother had been a 5 or 6 season show, had never done the Barney and Robin marriage, and had not done the weird half season with the mother, who we loved so much, we wanted to see more of her, and then it got weird. That would make it a lot easier for everyone to accept. So I think maybe it will help people. I know CBS and all the networks are like, we want as many seasons as we can get out of this show, but there are some stories that are better served as shorter shows, and I hope maybe that lesson can survive. But also, people do remember that the show had some really great stuff and aren't just so pissed about the finale.
All right, final question, guys. How do we feel about the spinoff, How I Met Your Father?
How Much Your Dad now, which I think is weird.
But I think Father sounds better.
It does.
Yeah.
I'm feeling, Max, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling ambivalent, but I guess I want to just see, because they say that it's going to be, it's a whole new group of characters, and it'll be, a whole new sort of just the idea. It's a format spinoff like you would do with like CSI. So that's risky. That's weird. But, and I don't know what do you think about this, Max?
It's like I'm a little cautious as well, just because it's going to be a similar show, but I am a little bit encouraged by the fact it's is it Emily Spivey who's also joining the creative team. So I think getting some fresh blood in there might help it in the long run. And I don't even know. I don't know. I'm definitely going to check it out. Like, I'm at least curious. I'm intrigued by it, but yeah, I'm a little wary about it, definitely.
I'm curious though, Max, if you agree with me though, the number 31, Barney's mysterious girl that he got pregnant, he called her number 31. They made sure never to name her. That's gotta, like, a lot of people are saying that's the main character of How I Met Your Dad.
Oh.
I don't know if it's that, but I feel like we'll get the answer to the question of who she is in How I Met Your Dad. I feel like these guys, these are, clever guys. These are guys who told us the name Tracy was the first name of the mother in season 1 with that stripper joke.
Right.
When he met the stripper named Tracy and said, and that's How I Met Your Mother, just kidding. Turned out that was really her first name. So I feel like, I don't know. What do you think, Max? Do you think we're going to get the answer? Is that the main character, or will we get that answer?
Yeah, it's like these guys look ahead, right? And that's one thing we can definitely take away from all this, is these guys have an idea in mind when it comes to like their end game. So I definitely do think that I'm very curious about that, because I read a similar thing about the number 31, and I think that's an interesting idea. And if that were the case, I'd be happy about that. I think that'd be an interesting way to handle it, and kind of that would better connect the two shows, I think, too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Eric, when can we expect to hear something about How I Met Your Dad?
It's just about to start filming, and we'll know by May if they've picked it up the series. And it'll be interesting to see because this is such a controversial finale. Does it hurt its chances, or do they just say, hey, this was a really popular show. The finale was the most viewers the show ever had, by the way, so it ended out on top. We'll find out by May if it's going forward.
All right. Well, Eric, Max, thank you for your time. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for yours. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the How I Met Your Mother finale. And then if you're excited for How I Met Your Dad, then keep coming back to IGN for all your TV reviews.